Hey, this is Russ Anderson. Here we're going to take a look at some of the new features in SynthEyes 2011 that aid stereo tracking. So here I've opened up a already solved stereo shot, and we're going to look at a couple of little features here. So let's start with a camera and perspective view. So we're going to be seeing both the left and right cameras. And one of the new features, small as it is but helpful, is that if you hold down the control key and click the camera view reset, it will go and snap the camera view down into the middle of the available area rather than up at the top. That would be the normal placement, but with the control key it'll snap into the middle, which will allow it to align correctly and exactly with the perspective view, which normally aligns in the center. So now we've got a left and right camera view both being displayed simultaneously. So one of the new features is to be able to create new stereo tracker pairs quicker, and the real quick and dirty way to do it is just to hold down the C key and then click in the camera view and click the same feature in the perspective view, and you've now created a new tracker pair. And you'll notice it's got the left and right tracker names there. And in fact, the settings for the tracker will be cloned from the one camera into the other, and that the name will automatically be adjusted. Any of the other tracker parameters will be the same in the matching tracker in the other camera view. So that's just a handy and quick way to do it. Of course, if you turn on the create key, create button there in the tracker panel, you can go over into the perspective window, and here in the other modes there's add stereo second, and that lets you just click away in the one view and then in the other view and create trackers back and forth real quickly. So that's a handy little mode to get things set up. Now another feature in the 2011 version lets you go and set up zero-weighted trackers for stereo pairs. The ZWT toggle is now linked between the two. And so if I turn that on for the tracker pair that I just created, you'll see I immediately get a solution for the estimated position of this tracker pair just based on the single frame's worth of information. Of course, if I continue to track each of the trackers, I'll get more and more accurate information as I go along. But the stereo version of the ZWT processing will let a solution be obtained just from a single frame, and that can be handy in verifying what you're doing and dealing with situations where features may come and go rather rapidly. So now let's take a look at a cool feature in the Simultrack window, which lets you look at the tracker over time, and in fact a whole bunch of different trackers. But here what I'm going to do is just set up a simultaneous view, but now I'm going to go and edit it a little to make it be two Simultrack views. Okay, right now I'm showing the same thing in both sides, so I'm going to go onto the right-click menu of the one Simultrack view and turn on this stereo spouses selection on the menu. And what that does is tell the Simultrack window to show the matching tracker for each of the selected trackers that would otherwise be showing. So instead of showing tracker 1L, it shows tracker 1R over here. So now I have a direct representation of how the trackers match up between the two different camera views, And I can go and verify that I don't have problems in the correspondence of where trackers are placed between the two different views. Take a look and see perhaps if some trackers are ending earlier or not coming on sooner perhaps. Just a general way to go and take a look at what you've got going on throughout the shot and see both sides of the trackers right through their own eyes simultaneously. So that's a kind of cool capability of the Simultrack window that's specifically there for stereo. So now let's just go back to the perspective view, and of course this perspective view can show the stereo view into the scene. Here we're just using anaglyph colored views, but there are a couple of new modes in the 2011 version that can be helpful. One is the ability to produce an interlaced display if you have the right kind of interlaced monitor. So there are two different settings for that. And that view may be particularly useful when you combine it with the new ability to float one of the perspective views. So you can float a perspective view off onto a separate monitor that might be set up with an interlaced display and just run it from there. Also, there's a new mode for the color anaglyphs here where instead of seeing a color view that gives you the actual colors of each view, it's just based on the luminance. So you get the luminance of each image generated into the red and the green channel, and the luminance of the other image into the blue channel, say. So you can do all the different settings of that, but rather than using the actual coloration, it just replicates the luminance information. And some people would rather do that in order to better assess the kind of stereo disparities that they have in the scene. That's just a user preference, but we do provide the option to do that if you're so inclined. So hopefully that gives you some new features to help out with your stereo projects. I know there are plenty more in the pipe out there, so enjoy.